Hi friends, welcome back to my channel, Wedding Girl Talk Live, where I get to share tips and advice for couples as they're going on their wedding planning journey. My name is Lola Akingbade. I am a wedding planner with Master Plan Events. So today we're going to be talking about or addressing questions that couples have as they begin to pick their bridesmaids and their groomsmen. Selecting your bridesmaids and your groomsmen is usually a really fun, exciting process, especially when you're thinking about, oh wait, I need to propose to them, what gift should I give them, all that cool stuff. But then I find that as people are beginning to think about, as couples are beginning to think about who they should pick for their bridesmaids and their groomsmen, they have all these questions that come rushing at them and they're like, wait, I didn't think about that. Wait, do I need to do this? Do I need 2 maids of honor? Do I need that? And so many questions come at you at once, right? So this video is going to help you think through some of those questions and hopefully help you answer some of those questions that might be coming to you as you begin to think about who you want to be as a part of your bridal party. So I'm going to start off with this question. Do we have to have the same number of bridesmaids and groomsmen? My answer is absolutely not. You do not have to have the same number of bridesmaids and groomsmen. I personally had 8 bridesmaids and my husband had 4 groomsmen. So we paired each man to walk with 2 ladies. So there's tons and tons of ways that you can make it creative. You can have everyone file down in a single file, or you can have the people already lined up at the altar. There's so many different ways. Brainstorm it with your friends, brainstorm with your wedding planner if you have one, and come up with a creative way to make it work. You don't have to have the same number of bridesmaids and groomsmen, especially because you don't want to just add people to your bridesmaids or your groomsmen just because you want to match the numbers. You don't want random people just standing next to you. You know, your bridesmaids, your groomsmen are like really key people in your life. They're your support system. They're the people that you want standing by your side. So don't just add people just for the sake of balancing the numbers. It's okay if the balance is kind of off. You can make it fun. You can make it aesthetically pleasing. You can do whatever you want. So you do not have to have the same number of bridesmaids and groomsmen. So this next question is, should bridesmaids and groomsmen be allowed to have a +1 with them at the wedding? So I'm gonna sip on a little bit of my drink before I answer the question because I might get in trouble. But on a serious note, like most people, think about their bridesmaids and groomsmen and separate them into 2 categories. Are they married or are they dating? Actually, 3 categories. Are they married, dating, or are they single? Single meaning not dating. So if they're married, generally people allow them to bring their spouse as their +1. Now, they're single. Are they dating? Now, if they're dating, is this a serious relationship or is this just casual dating? Most times, couples would allow members of the bridal party who are in a serious committed relationship to bring their +1 to the wedding, especially if they've met the person, they get along with the person, they would allow them to come. Now, if they're casually dating and they haven't met the +1, they don't know anything about the person, then sometimes it's a no. And then if you're single, most times as well, it's a no, especially in the COVID times, right? People are literally like counting their numbers to make sure that, is this person important to us? Does this person needs to be there? So most times, singles generally don't get to have a +1. If you do let them have a +1, that is a wonderful gesture, and I give you all the kudos, and which is good. But sometimes, when you're thinking about cost and you're thinking about COVID, you may not want to allow people who are not in committed relationships to bring a +1. So at the end of the day, it's up to you what you'd like to do. But most times it's think about married, dating, single, and you guys, husband and wife, sit down together and come up with a plan. So this next question is kind of sensitive. It goes like this. So, do I need to include my future brother-in-law or sister-in-law as a groomsman or a bridesmaid? My answer is it depends. It really does depend, right? I guess one question you probably need to ask yourself is it important to my fiance? Does he really want me to put his sister as a bridesmaid, or does he really want me do I really want him to put my brother as a groomsman? Talk about that and talk about it openly to figure out how important it is. And if there's a reason behind it and something that, you know, is very important, then go ahead and do it if it's not gonna like take you way out of your comfort zone, right? But you also have to think about other things, because most times bridesmaids will also plan like a bachelorette trip or like something, you know, intimate and all that. You may not want that person to see that side of you, or to be with your friends in that light and all of that. So you have to think about all of that as well as you make your decision as to if you want this person to be a bridesmaid or a groomsman. But the ultimate decision is that it's up to you. There are other ways if you're completely uncomfortable with the idea of having your future brother-in-law or future sister-in-law as your bridesmaid or your groomsman. There are other ways to make that person feel important and also feel included in the wedding. Like you can make them do a reading in the wedding. You can give them a specific task to maybe take charge of, like finding a particular vendor or something that would be very significant to them as well. I would say that you do not have to have them as a bridesmaid or a groomsman if there are other ways that you can make them feel special, especially if your fiance is not necessarily close to that sister or brother. If they've never met in person before, and you know, maybe the person lives overseas and it's something that they have to kind of get used to. I tend to say couples to try not to put each other in uncomfortable situations, but if there's a specific reason why this person has to be in the bridal party, talk about it and figure out whether this is the best way to include the person in the wedding, or if there are other ways that you can include this person in the wedding that they would still feel equally special. So another question that we get asked all the time is, what are bridesmaids and groomsmen responsible for paying? To answer this question, I'll say it depends. I feel like most of my answers are it depends, because really it's up to you what you would like to do, right? But traditionally, let me first go over what the costs are that are for bridesmaids and groomsmen. So typically, these are the costs that are involved. So like the travel of the person from wherever they live to the wedding location. So let's say the wedding is taking place in DC, but you're based in Colorado. You have to fly down to DC. That expense is one expense that has to be incurred. Then there is the attire, like your dress, your suit, your shoes, the accessories like jewelry and stuff like that. Then there is getting ready attire for the ladies, like their robes or t-shirts and things like that. Then there is hair and makeup that has to be incurred as well. And then there is accommodation for like where you're going to be getting ready. So a lot of times the bridal party stays together at a hotel or an Airbnb, and that needs to be paid for as well. Then there is there is the travel on the day of the wedding. So like moving from the getting ready location to the ceremony to the reception, like a party bus or a limo or something of that nature. Then there is the bridal shower. And then there is a bachelor party or a bachelorette if you'll be having one. And I think I covered it all. Did I say hair and makeup? I think I did. I don't remember anymore. But those are the costs that are typically incurred for bridesmaids and for groomsmen. Now, which of these costs are the bridesmaids and the groomsmen responsible for, and which of these costs is the couple responsible for? So most times the couple would pay for like the wedding day transportation. Like if you're going to be renting a limo or a party bus, most times the couple will pay for that. And then the couple also pays for, a lot of times pay for the getting ready accommodation as well, like the hotel. But sometimes the bridesmaids pay for that and the groomsmen pay for that. But sometimes as well, the couple pays for that. Those are the main costs. Oh, and then the boutonnieres and the bouquets. I forgot to mention that. But those costs are also typically covered by the couple. Now, every other cost that I mentioned typically is either fully covered by the bridesmaids and the groomsmen, or is shared between the couple and the bridesmaids and the groomsmen. So it's up to you if you want your bridal party or your bridesmaids to completely pay for their attire, their hair, their makeup. Sometimes I've heard of some couples, I've worked with some couples that to lighten the burden, they split the cost in half. So they had their bridesmaid pay for 50% of their dress, and they covered the other 50%. It's really up to you how you split the cost. If you want them to have if you want them to take charge of all the payments, or you want to help them with some of the payments. It's really up to you. But what would be good is if you definitely let them know what they're responsible for and what you are responsible for so that they can start planning towards those expenses. All right, so another question is, can I have more than one maid of honor and more than one best man? The answer is absolutely, you can have more. Like, for example, with me, I had 2 maids of honor. That's because I couldn't pick one. I have 2 best friends from when I was growing up, and if I picked one over the other, it would have been a problem, okay? So I was like, you know what? I don't want any headache. They're both really close to me, so they're gonna both be maids of honor. And my husband, he had just one, I believe. He had just one best man, or maybe 2. I don't recall anymore how many he had. But you can have more than one. You can have up to 3. I've had some couples that had up to 3 bridesmaids or 3 groomsmen. That's fine. And if you have one that is married, you can always bump them up to be a matron of honor. That way you don't have more than one. But it's up to you. There's no hard and fast rule that you must have just one maid of honor and just one best man. All right, another question that we get all the time is, when should I inform a bridesmaid or a groomsman that they are part of my wedding party? I would say as soon as you book your venue and you secure your dates, you should let them know, because you definitely want them to be a part of the wedding. You want to let them know ahead of time so they can clear out their schedule for that day and not book anything else, especially if they're coming from out of town and if it's a popular wedding or popular weekend in general because of a holiday or something like that. You definitely want to let them know as soon as possible so that they can start making plans towards that date. Another question is, what information do bridesmaids and groomsmen need to know? The first thing is that they need to know the wedding dates, which I covered previously in a different question. And then they need to know the location of the wedding, especially if they're going to be flying in. They need to know where they're going to be flying to, so they need to get prepared for that. Then they need to know what their responsibilities are as a bridesmaid or a groomsman. Not everybody has been part of a wedding party, so you want to make sure that they are aware that this and this is what they're going to be doing. And I probably will cover responsibilities in a different video, but like, for example, they need to know that they'll be responsible for planning your shower as a bride. So that's another thing. Another thing they need to know is, what costs would they possibly be expected to incur? A lot of times you're going to let them know that they have to pay for their suits or their dress, their accessories, hair and makeup, things like that. You want to let them know as well those costs that they would be expected to incur. Now, if after you tell them all of this, if someone says, unfortunately, I'd have to decline, I would say, don't get offended, don't get upset. Sometimes some people might be in a financial situation that it just wouldn't be smart of them to try to put this again on their plate. But you know, try to have open, honest conversations with your bridal party to find out why. But if they do decline, it's a good thing actually. You want to be happy that they do that versus getting into it and then down the line they pull out because they're not able to fulfill their obligations. So again, mention the date of the wedding, the location, their responsibilities, and the cost that they would be expected to pay for. So another question that we've received a number of times is, can I just do without a bridal party? Can it just be us, like the bride and groom, and that's it? And my answer is yes, that is totally fine. You can do that. You can definitely do that. And guess what? You probably have more time for pictures. But seriously, on a serious note, you can definitely do that. It's totally up to you if you don't want to do a bridal party. And people have several reasons why they don't want a bridal party. It might be because they just want everyone to have fun. They don't want to put anyone under any financial obligation. They just want it to be an easy morning for them on that day, and they just want their peace and quiet without any like bridesmaids or groomsmen or anything like that. It's totally up to you. You know yourself best. You know your spouse best. You know your situation best. You know your friends the best. Because on the day of the wedding, you definitely want to be in that zone where you're at peace, you're joyful, you're happy. And so whatever reason you have or not wanting a bridesmaid, it's totally up to you, but it is fine. The only thing that I would say you might need to think about is for brides, like typically you would have a bridal shower. So would you still have like your closest friends be the ones to plan your shower, even though you're not going to make any of them bridesmaids? And then on the day of the wedding, who will be responsible for helping you with your dress if you're going to have like a really big dress and stuff like that? We've had several weddings in this situation. One of them, she had no bridesmaids whatsoever, but she did have some of her girlfriends come to the hotel the morning of the wedding, just kind of help her out and just be with her in the morning as she's getting ready. But they were not formal bridesmaids. They didn't walk down the aisle. They didn't stand up front. They didn't do any of that stuff. And she just wanted it to be easygoing. She just wanted her friends to have fun. She didn't want them to put them under any obligation to pay for hair and makeup or their dress and things like that. So whatever reason you have is up to you, but it is fine not to have a bridal party, to have bridesmaids, groomsmen, none of that. You don't have to do it. It's up to you. It's your wedding. Whatever you love, whatever you want is totally up to you. It's your day, not anybody else's. So we've come to the end of the video. I really hope that these helped you as you think about bridesmaids and groomsmen for your wedding. As always, thank you so much for joining Wedding Girl Talk Live. And until next time, don't forget to subscribe. Take care. Deuces.